I would have to prove myself constantly to people. I was very blessed in the sense that my dad owned his own promotion, Top of Texas Professional Wrestling in Amarillo, Texas. All the stars had aligned. I won the NWA National Championship. One of the best moments of my career. EC3 was a mentor of mine. It was never supposed to be a wrestling promotion. I became the quote-unquote first project of Control Your Narrative. I actually had his going away match. It was just a brotherhood of guys coming together for one common goal, and that was to boost each other up. He's like, look, I'm thinking that I don't want you here.
Ladies and gentlemen, hosted by Coach C, Chris Sanders, this is Best for Business.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Another episode of Best for Business. I'm so pumped for this one. Jake Logan, man, thank you so much for joining me for this one.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
When I was doing my research, I reached out to you, and right away you responded. So, man, thank you for doing this. I know we're across the country, but I appreciate you a ton.
No problem, dude. I'm glad my name's getting recognized.
So I appreciate you doing this, but I'm curious. You started training for pro wrestling at 8 years old. So at such a young age, what was it about pro wrestling for a young age that you wanted to do it?
Man, it was just the dynamic of it, you know, just the bright colors, the flashy, all the big personalities, you know, like just the over the top people, the things that could happen in the ring, the moves, you know, it was really just everything, the glitz, the glamour, everything. It was awesome to me.
So how do you get involved in pro wrestling at 8 years old? Because I don't know about you, for New England, like I think it has to be like 16 before you can get into a ring.
So I was very blessed in the sense that my dad owned his own promotion. So I literally grew up with a wrestling ring in my backyard.
Nice.
My dad owns Top of Texas Professional Wrestling in Amarillo, Texas. I didn't start out as Top of Texas. It started out as PWF. If I'm backtracking here a little bit, when my dad got into the business, we were living in Georgia. We were living in Americus, Georgia, and we would travel to Fort Valley, Georgia. Gosh, I don't. It was so long ago. I don't remember if it was every week or every month, you know. But I just remember being there a lot. And my dad would work for All Star Wrestling Network, and that's how my dad got his start. And so I loved every bit of it. It got me more into it. I had so many like action figures, you know, from the time my dad got into the business, I gained probably over 130 action figures.
Nice.
Just as a little kid.
Yeah.
But when we ended up moving to Texas so that my dad could be closer to his side of the family, my dad came across these guys who were running probably not the greatest pro wrestling show. And my dad was a very good businessman, still is today. And he, you know, offered to step in and help these guys out. And then eventually he ended up kind of taking over the area as the new promoter. And it eventually got turned from ACW. And I don't remember what the acronym is for, but it turned from ACW to PWF, Panhandle Wrestling Federation. And then it evolved over to Top of Texas Pro Wrestling over the years.
Nice. So what is training at 8 years old like?
So my dad loves to tell this story. So there is a guy named Will Gentry, and my dad was a manager outside of the ring. That's what his part of the business was. And my dad would manage this guy named Will Gentry, whose wrestling name was Bob Wire. Great name, right?
Yeah, genius.
Sounds like it came out of the 80s or 90s. But he was a really good guy.
Yeah.
But he had the old school mindset, Bob Wire did. So Bob didn't care what age you are, what race you are, who you are, where you came from, doesn't matter. You trained just like everybody else, and you trained the same way as everybody else.
Nice.
Bob's mentality, though, was you're going to bump till you puke.
Okay.
So when I got taught how to bump, that was it. Like most of my training would just be me bumping all day long for 2-3 hours. Um, Mostly because I'm still smaller at that time, and I can't
Yeah.
really do a whole lot with the guys who are actually there to practice their move set and everything like that. So most I can do is bump and lock up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing that for a good couple of years, 2-3 hours a day, probably 3 or 4 days a week.
And you're probably in great shape probably from this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I was a very active kid, but
Yeah.
the story that my dad likes to tell is that my dad knew I was going to make it in the wrestling business when I was 8 years old, and I'm bumping in the ring, and again, Bob's mentality is bump till you puke.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just doing this thing where he just had guys just bumping over and over and over, and it was like a ridiculously long amount of time.
Yeah.
And then he called me into the middle of the ring, and man, I had probably been bumping for up to around 10 minutes by this point, just straight, just getting up, taking a bump, getting up, taking a bump,
Yeah.
getting up, taking a bump. And there was finally one moment where I just, I had to just roll out of the ring. And I started walking back to the house, and Bob's yelling at me to get back in there. And I'm just ignoring him because at this point, I'm just pissed off.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a drink of water. My dad joins me inside, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on? Did you not want to, you don't want to do this?" And I look at my dad, and I'm like, you know what? I do want to do this. And so I took a sip of water. I darted back to the ring. Bob had one guy that was bumping over and over. And I just kind of pushed him out of the way and started taking my bumps again.
Yeah.
And so my dad loves to tell that story, but my dad says that that's when he knew that I was going to actually become a wrestler.
So you start training at 8 years old. So what is it like 17 years old, your 17th birthday, having that pro wrestling match? Are you ready for it, I assume?
So all the stars had aligned, man. Like
Okay.
I couldn't ask for anything better, like there's not very many people out there that can say that they had their first match on their 17th
Yeah.
birthday, on their birthday alone.
Yeah.
Um, so with that, I was training very consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the ring every week, probably 4 to 5 times a day. Like I would go from my football practice straight, like I would do school, then football practice after school, then straight to training, and then straight home to bed. Wake up the next morning because I'd have to do a 5 a.m. workout for football training, and I
Yeah.
would do that every day, man, Monday through Friday. Um, and so as a teenager, I was in wonderful shape.
Yeah. What position were you for football?
For football, I was a middle linebacker
Okay.
and a offensive right guard.
Nice. Nice.
So, yeah. I don't keep up with football much.
Yeah.
It's not. I've had such tunnel vision for wrestling since I was 8, and so I just continue with that. So like people, turn their nose up at me when I'm like, yeah, I'm not really a football fan. I like
Yeah.
playing it. I'll
Yeah.
play it all day, but yeah, man. My first match, I wrestled against one of my buddies whose name is Cody Jones.
Mm-hmm.
His dad was a legendary Texas wrestler under the name Mr. Ebony Tom Jones. And so Cody really helped me out my final few weeks getting ready for the match. With me and Cody, man, it was just it was a simple match. Of course, I'm the baby face, he's the heel.
Yeah.
The crowd watched me grow up. So I immediately had that in my back pocket. The crowd watched because my dad ran every Saturday night for about 20 years.
That's hard, especially in the indies. Like they run once a month, if that sometimes.
Yeah, man. And so, like I said, I grew up with this crowd. So this crowd was fully geared up for me to start wrestling. I was supposed to start refereeing a year before that, but I ended up having shoulder surgery because of football. And the week that I was supposed to start refereeing matches is when I tore my shoulder open.
Wow.
And so once I had the surgery, my dad and I agreed that instead of just reffing, once I'm cleared and everything, we'll start gearing up for me to start wrestling.
Nice.
But my match with Cody, man, I couldn't have asked for a better opponent because he really took care of me.
Yeah.
Because my second match was the shits, dude.
Yeah.
But Cody, like, he was very patient with me, and for people who know who Cody is, and if anybody back home is watching this, they'll know
Mm-hmm.
Cody was not very friendly to a lot of people back in those days. And he ended up being patient with me, and he took his time with me, and he could see that I wanted this.
Yeah.
And so like I said, he took great care of me, man. We had a great match. He put me over. And then, yeah, man, I've been going consistent for 15 years now.
Nice. So when you talk about learning pro wrestling, what was it like learning from Dory Funk Jr.? What are some of the biggest things you learned from him?
Man, I learned how to be humble for
Nice.
first and foremost. When I got to Dory's, I was already wrestling for 3 years. So I'm from Amarillo, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, after I graduate high school, my dad sends me out to Dory to just kind of get crisped up and everything, learn a thing or two. When I got to Dory's, I thought my shit didn't stink, man.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, being the son of a promoter
Yeah.
doesn't really help that much
Mm-hmm.
because it was kind of like I know everybody's against me, so I'm gonna show them why they should be against me.
Yeah.
If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
that mentality. Yeah.
Um, so going into Dory's, I still had that mentality, but these guys don't know who I am,
Right. Yeah.
So I get there, and not a lot of people like me, and we're training, and Dory had a certain method to his training, where he would make sure that he wouldn't let you move forward on something unless you had the prior training down pat. So like you're not going to move on to an arm drag unless you absolutely know how to take a hip toss.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
So like you're going to get this down before I teach you anything else, was his mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And so training a lot over there was a lot of the time was me waiting around so that I could get my type of training in, because he's got these guys who are taking forever to learn a hip toss, and I'm over here doing superplexes.
Yeah. Yeah.
um so because I had that mentality, and I'm not really helping out, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
showing people how to do things and everything like that, because I thought my shit didn't stink. Dory pulls me aside, and he's like, look, I'm thinking that I don't want you here. And I'm blown away by this, because here I am having a WWE Hall of Famer tell me I don't know if I want you here.
Yeah.
But it was my attitude, you know. And he's like, if you can't be a team player, if you can't help these guys, everything in wrestling is about working with your opponent. If you can't work with your opponent, then why are you here? So he really humbled me out and put it in perspective. Like, I need to chill out, because we're all on the same team. We all want wrestling to be better. We're all on an equal playing field. We're
Yeah.
all on the indies, So that's the main thing that really helped me out with Dory's, and it's carried on into my career more.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, like, I love helping people out as much as possible.
Nice. So I'm curious, for somebody who grew up around pro wrestling, for you personally, what is like the Texas wrestling scene like for you? Is there something in your area you think that stands out compared to wrestling anywhere else?
Man, I don't like to just stay in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the Texas wrestling scene, I've been away from it for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I've gone, back and forth
Yeah.
sometimes, but for me, when I was consistent in the Texas wrestling scene, it was a little bit of a different story. Again, because I'm the son of a promoter.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm the son of a promoter in Texas. So the Texas wrestling indie scene was different for me compared to others because as big as Texas is, the talk gets around quick. Um, so uh, people would think that I didn't work hard for what I had earned,
Mm-hmm.
and um, they would think that everything was handed to me. Now, don't get me wrong, if my dad's able to supply something for me, he's absolutely going to do it. I'm his
Yeah.
son, you know. At the end of the day, that's all that is. It's a father-son relationship, and he's doing whatever he can to help his son get further.
Absolutely.
However, that doesn't mean that I didn't bust my ass. When it came to training, I had to work 3, 4 times as harder than the other guy. And my dad wouldn't even be at training. I would have to prove myself constantly to people. And the moment that I thought that I had proved it to everybody got even worse when I won the NWA National Championship.
Yeah.
Um, one of the one of the best moments of my career, you know.
Yeah.
But here I am thinking this is me proving to everybody that I have busted my ass. Like the NWA can see that,
Mm-hmm.
but the Texas wrestling indie scene didn't really.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not discrediting the Texas wrestling indie scene by any means because there's a lot of good talent.
Yeah.
A lot of good talent. Guys like Noby Bryant, Izzy James, Tino Valentino, those guys, they're at the top of their game right now. Terrell Tempo,
Yeah.
those guys, they're awesome. Um, but for me, the Texas wrestling indie scene kind of was muddied up because I was the son of a promoter.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm curious, from you going from football to pro wrestling to focus on pro wrestling, when you officially start wrestling, what is like the inspiration behind Jake Logan, whether it's in the ring, an entrance, anything like that?
uh, so my dad was his managing name was Jack Logan,
Okay.
and so when the day that he told me, well, his debut night,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember us getting out of the car, or I'm sorry, we were pulling up, and he was telling me, "Hey, so when we get out there, my name is going to be Jake Logan," and I wasn't smart to the business yet or
Yeah.
anything, and so I was like, "You're not gonna call yourself Jake. That's my name,"
Yeah.
and I'm a little kid. Um, so I told my dad, "No, I don't want you to use my name." So my dad chose Jack. That's his brother's name.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan, his favorite superhero is Wolverine.
Okay.
So eventually, I was destined to be Jake Logan because everybody in the Amarillo wrestling scene where my dad ran knew he was my dad, knew that Jack Logan was my dad. So it was kind of an obvious thing that I was going to be Jake Logan.
Yeah.
Um, now, with for people who don't know who I am, when I make my entrance, I yell, "I'm Jake Logan."
Yeah.
It's in my theme song, everything. I yell it as much as possible out there. Um, and it started by accident. Um, it was just something stupid I was doing in a promo because some guy was asking, "Why do you think that you can do this?" And I was like, "Oh, because I'm Jake Logan."
Mm-hmm.
Well, what makes you think that you should be able to do this just because you're this guy? Because I'm Jake Logan. And that was just my response throughout the
Yeah.
whole promo was I'm Jake Logan. And it happened to a point where it was like something clicked right there,
Mm-hmm.
because people were like laughing at it and it was getting over.
Yeah.
And so the next week when I made my entrance, I yelled, "I'm Jake Logan," and the whole crowd erupted. I was a heel at this point.
Well, yeah, I could tell with the promo, yeah.
Um, and it ended up getting me over, and it turned me babyface. So much so to the point where every time I lifted my thumbs in the air, everybody did it too, and they all yelled, "I'm Jake Logan" with me.
Nice.
And so it was just, it was something that organically came together.
Yeah.
Um, so and now it's to the point where I can't get rid of that even if I wanted to,
Yeah.
because I've got people coming up to me saying, for example, my dad had shut the doors to his building because he unfortunately had gotten kicked out of his building uh, due to uh, some other guy's mishaps with the building.
Hmm.
Uh, so when my dad made a post about it, another guy reached out to my dad and said, "Hey, I just kind of wanted to, share a story with you uh, about the first time my son and I ever went to a wrestling show. It was at Top of Texas Pro Wrestling. And he said his son suffers from cerebral palsy and is wheelchair bound.
Hmm.
And he said we went to the show and we had a wonderful time. He said the next day, that Sunday, we're just chilling at home, and I hear like loud crashing sounds from my son's room. So I run back there, open his door, and I say, "What's going on?" And I see him beating the tar out of his pillow. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he just looks at me and says, "I'm Jake
Oh,
Logan."
wow, nice.
And it's like I keep running into instances like this
Nice.
where it's like, people will tell me, "Hey, you've motivated me. You helped me, get part of my life in gear. Just watching you out in the ring, you're always yelling, 'I'm Jake Logan,' and it's motivated me to look at myself in the mirror and be like, you know what, I'm so and so."
Yeah. I might start stealing that. It's genius. So when I talk about your resume, it is very impressive. The first thing I want to ask you about, you got to do something that a lot of people wish. What was it like if you have any stories and memories from your WWE tryout?
Man, so I had a tryout that got canceled and a tryout that lasted for 2 days.
Hmm.
So my tryout that got canceled was in 2020, and the day that we reported to the performance center was the day that the world shut down because of COVID.
Okay.
Uh, However, there were contacts that I had made in that canceled tryout that I still have today.
Nice.
Um, it was just, looking back now, it's kind of surreal, but just for example, my travel group uh, to and from the hotel was Zach Zodiac, who is Paige's brother,
Yeah.
um, and if he ever watches this, I hope he doesn't hate me. But it was also Paige's nephew who was there as well.
Okay.
I can't remember his name at the time, and I feel terrible about it. But there was also a girl named G, who was signed to WWE for a little bit, and she was like the secretary of one of the superstars. Um, but like that was a cool little travel group that I had,
Yeah.
and I still have Zach's contact to this day.
Nice.
We catch up every so often. Um, and then when hanging around people at the performance center before it got canceled, I was hanging around with guys like Sifa Fatu, who is Solo Sokoa,
Yeah.
Jade Cargill.
Nice.
My roommate in the hotel was Trick Williams.
Nice.
And Trick and I, we still talk to this day. I was actually in a few YouTube shorts with Trick. So he had like a little YouTube series called Trick and Ain't Easy, and my role was a pimp. And
Yeah.
my full name was a pimp named Goat Milk.
Wow.
But that was the 2020 group.
Nice.
And so My main tryout ended up being May of 2021.
Okay.
And man, that was such a cool experience. Unfortunately, it was 2 days. I didn't get to do the 3 or 4 day tryout like
Hmm.
most people. But my tryout was the first tryout they had coming back from COVID that had experienced wrestlers on it.
Nice.
And so there was probably about 20 of us on
Nice.
there. So it was really cool. We got to do promos. I got to learn a lot from Matt Bloom, and I'm so thankful for it. And Matt Bloom really helped me out because after the tryout, well, what made me nervous was after I had my, so we had a match on day one and then a tag match on day two. After my match on day one, he said, "I want to talk." And I'm like, okay. And Matt Bloom, he's a big guy. He's pretty
Yeah.
intimidating. So when he's telling you, "I want to talk,"
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, what did I screw up on?
Yeah.
um, so we didn't end up talking that night, but the next day before the tag match, he said, "Hey, when we conclude this, I want you to come find me, and so we can talk." I'm like, "Yes, sir." So we have the tag match and everything, and then afterwards, Matt's talking to me, and my matches went well. They
Mm.
weren't great by any means. I mean, there are things that I really wish that I could have taken control of and had changed, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Circumstances. So Matt and I were talking for a little while, and he read me like a book, man. He said, "You're probably like me. You probably grew up in a home where both parents were there. You had mom and dad. Um, you probably grew up in a good area, and now you want to be a character who's a badass, but you haven't found the inner badass yet."
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And he's like, "I went through the exact same thing." Um, and I'm like, "Okay." He's like, it took me until I got to Japan to find my inner badass. In my head, I'm like, I hope it doesn't take me that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what he was telling me really resonated with me. Um, and now when I go out to the ring, it's not that I try to be a badass, but if I'm a heel, I try to channel, the people that used to bully me when I was a kid in school. I try to do things that they might have done to me or around me to play off as a heel.
Yeah.
When I'm a babyface, I take inspiration from guys like Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho and John Cena.
Hmm.
However, I sprinkle in a little bit of Stone Cold with it because Stone Cold was a guy who just didn't give a shit when he was in the ring,
Yeah.
you know. Um, so having that talk with Matt Bloom really helped me out and really opened my eyes on a lot of things.
Nice.
Um, because shortly after that, they took notice of me, I'm sure, because for the next 2.5 years, I was there every other Tuesday as extra talent at the Performance Center
Nice.
for NXT. They're not using much extra talent right now as it is because they have so many NIL guys.
Yeah.
But I still, email Matt Bloom every other week with a new promo or a new match. And
Nice.
so, yeah, I always
Nice.
keep in contact with them.
Yeah. So when you talk about your career, you talk about Cody, but I'm curious, whose idea is the Absolute Rebels?
So that was me and Cody.
Yeah.
I was the true rebel Jake Logan at the time, and he called himself Absolute Cody Jones.
Okay. Creative. I
And
love it.
so it was just like, oh, how can we, mesh together like this? And I was like, well, we can call ourselves the Absolute Rebels. It was just kind of like
Yeah.
at first we were a thrown together tag team. And then we had my dad as a manager. And once we actually named ourselves the Absolute Rebels, we noticed that it was starting to take off a little bit. We were actually meshing well together. Like our
Nice.
chemistry against each other was already there, but we didn't know that our chemistry as a tag team was there as well.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Cody just recently retired in Chicago. But I feel like if I were to call him up and be like, hey, this guy wants to book the Absolute Rebels in a tag match, I feel like we'd be able to just pick up our chemistry like that.
Yeah, but we're acting like pro wrestling retirements are a thing, so there's a good shot that can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that Cody's focusing on other things right now.
Nice.
He was wrestling for 20 plus years.
Wow.
So, I'm glad that he was able to do it on his own terms, though.
Nice. So you talk about it earlier. This moment must have felt special. What's going through your head? The youngest NWA National Champion. Like, that's insane. You're in the history books.
Yeah, man. It was a surreal moment.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
So this title means a lot to me, man. When I lost the title, the owner of the NWA at the time sent me the replica of it.
Nice.
I didn't hold on to it for very long, but I cherished every moment I had with it. I made sure immediately to get some promo pictures with it, and because it was such a cool moment. Because
yeah,
I want to say maybe 3 weeks ahead of time, we had a call from a guy named James Beard, who was at the time the senior referee for the NWA. He's a good friend of JBL. He's been around for years and years and years. He was around refereeing whenever they had the Sportatorium in Dallas.
Wow, yeah.
But James calls me up and he's like, "Hey, kid, we want to give you the rub." And it was one of the, like I was saying earlier, it was like, man, this is me, proving to everybody that I have had to work hard. Like it's paying off, So he tells me that. He says that the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony, is going to come from Tennessee. He wants to get with my dad so he can book the show, but I would win it in Amarillo, in my hometown.
Nice.
And so, funny enough, I'm a heel there. So, so one of the best parts of my career, I win it, and the crowd's booing me.
Yeah.
But what was really cool was after the match, I won it. I had the title held high, and my dad managed me for that match.
Yeah.
And I got to give my dad a big hug with the title in my hands. And
you're a heel?
I was a heel. So the crowd's booing me, and I'm having this special moment in the ring with my dad, and everybody's booing us. It was cool, man. It's a memory that I'll cherish forever.
Nice. Is there anything that stands out wrestling for the NWA compared to other indies or places you worked for?
Professionalism is a key.
Okay.
The NWA carries themselves with a lot of professionality. If that professionality, that's a word, right? Professionality. Yeah. I'm a wrestler, not a grammar guy. So with the NWA having as much history as it does, I feel like they have to carry themselves.
Yeah.
With that mentality and with that, showing that off. They have to carry themselves like stars, and they do. EC3, who was a mentor of mine, I feel like he's as professional as you can get. And I feel like he's right at home when it comes to the NWA.
Yeah.
As of right now, there's no perfect place for him than the NWA.
Nice.
And I think that's what makes the NWA stand out, is their professionality.
Do you have a favorite NWA match?
Man, you're testing me here. You know, I was just I was a huge fan of Ric Flair. So
Okay.
anytime I got to see him, you're talking about like,
You've had in the NWA.
oh, that I've had in the
Yeah.
NWA. I mean, the one that holds the cake, man, is me winning the national title.
Yeah.
You know, um, but uh, let's uh, let's throw this one out there. Actually, there's two,
Okay.
and they were feuds. I had a feud for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Rob Conway,
Nice.
and another feud for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against Jax Dane.
Nice.
So I'm biased because those are, I mean, you know, I'm that close to the NWA World title, you know.
Yeah. So you've been Jake Logan your whole career, but what was the other persona you had? The Nitsu Katamoto. What is the idea behind this one?
It was, oh man, we're going back to like 2012
Oh, we
here.
did a whole deep dive on your career.
So Nitsu Katamoto, and I first and foremost, we're in a different time and age, so I pray that there is nobody who is offended
Yeah,
by
yeah,
this character
yeah.
because it was all for a storyline angle. I was going against a guy named Ryan Justice, and my my girlfriend at the time was also we had gotten her into pro wrestling as well. She became a manager and everything,
Nice.
and then even while she's my girlfriend outside of there, she did a turn on me in the ring, and
Wow.
she sided with my rival Ryan Justice, and so Ryan and her were running amok. They called themselves Fate Inc. Um, and we did an angle where Ryan took me out. And for probably a good 2.5, maybe 3 months, when you're running a weekly show, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Right? So nobody has seen or heard from Jake Logan except for a few Facebook posts saying, "Hey, going into surgery, wish me luck." You know, um, so we did the angle where the week after I got injured and taken out by Ryan Justice, uh, from Japan, Tokyo, Japan, came Nitsu Katamoto, who looked like a really bad Power Ranger. Um, one thing about it though was I noticed that I was kind of getting out of shape as well. So as Jake Logan, I was
Yeah.
noticing through pictures and everything. Um, so with Nitsu Katamoto, I wore a sleeveless top, a mask, some long tights. Like I looked nothing like. I even wore gloves.
Yeah.
I tried to make sure that nobody could know that it was Jake Logan, right?
Okay, yeah.
Um, and all the while, I'm hitting the gym hard
Mhm.
because when I come back as Jake Logan, I don't want to look like how I looked because I was
Yeah.
embarrassed. But anyways, that's besides the point. For Nitsu Katamoto, I made sure like we didn't run too many like hard stories on it for that time until it came time for the unveiling. So basically, my dad and his company had a title called the Panhandle Championship. Um, which I've held 14 times, but who's counting?
No biggie. Yeah.
Um, so there was a tournament for the Panhandle title, and it would conclude in a triple threat match where the Panhandle title was on the line.
Mhm.
So it was me versus somebody else versus Ryan Justice. Uh, so something happened to where Ryan took out the other guy mid match, so it ended up just being me and Ryan. And
Mhm.
we're having a great match, and like it was a really cool deal because people were chanting, "This is awesome!"
Nice.
In 2012, I'd already been wrestling for a little over just over 2 years, so I remember that was my first "This is awesome" chant. So I was like,
Nice.
"This is awesome," you
Yeah.
know. Um, so when I beat Ryan and I beat him with a roll up, uh, I got out of the ring and he's freaking out. And I get up on the stage and I like slowly take off the mask to unveil that it's me. It was me all along.
Yeah.
You know, the crowd erupted, man.
Nice.
It was awesome. We ended up bringing Nitsu Katamoto back, but it was me only one time, because we had a guy who was kind of trying to find himself and everything.
Yeah.
And so I threw out the character Nitsu Katamoto, and to his credit, he ran with it, man. It was good. However, when I started Nitsu Katamoto, I remember there being a couple of weeks where I knew like I wanted them guessing on who it might be before we did the unveiling.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of guys who look completely different body wise.
Yeah.
Put on the outfit.
Smart. I love it.
So one week it was me. Another week it was a guy who was 100 pounds less than me.
Yeah.
Then
Love it.
it was a guy who was like 6'4" and like 300 pounds. And people were like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But I had to make sure that they stayed with the same type of move set. So I would get in the ring with them and be like, all right, Nitsu would do this and this.
Yeah.
So,
I love
but
it.
it was pretty cool, man. And then we did the unveiling, and people erupted. And then Ryan and I had our final match together at my dad's big 2-ring. It was I hate the name, but it was a Seasons Beatings event.
Okay.
I hate it because every indie uses
Yeah, that's common.
But basically, my dad did something different that nobody sees today, and it was 2 rings side by side, kind of like war game style.
Yeah.
However, he would do a 2-ring over the top rope battle royal. So you start in one ring, and then you get eliminated to the other ring, and then you have to go over that top rope to be fully eliminated. And the last 2 guys in the ring come together and have a match, and the winner of that match gets a shot at the heavyweight title, as well as leads the charge as taking the toys that were donated to the WrestlePlex to the kids at the Northwest Hospital.
Nice.
For Christmas.
Yeah.
But Ryan and I had our blow-off match at the Seasons Beatings event, and I remember the crowd being so excited for this match, and I wanted them to think that Ryan was going to win. So much so that I had Ryan duct tape my hands to the top rope, and I got into a fight with my father on this because he was so against the idea. He was like, it's never going to work. What happens if you don't break the tape? This and that. He's like, it's never going to work. And I'm like, I promise. Me and Ryan, we're like, we promise this is going to work. We know it's going to work.
Yeah.
So my dad's like, whatever, do what you're going to do. But if it fails, neither of you are keeping the title.
Old school. I love it.
So Ryan duct tapes my wrists to the top rope.
Yeah.
And I told him to just beat the shit out of me with whatever he can get. Kendo sticks, chairs. I want as much sympathy as possible from the fans, right?
Mm.
And by the time it looks like I'm just down and out, right? The crowd starts chanting Jake Logan, and so much so that it's deafening.
Yeah.
Man. And I'm like feeding off of the crowd, like kind of like old school Hogan.
Yeah.
So Ryan's hitting me, and it's just like waking me up, and it's jarring me together. And then finally, like, I rip one side off, and I'm looking at the tape that's still stuck on me, and the crowd's exploding at this point, man. And I rip the other one off, right? And then we go into the hot comeback and into the finish. And
nice.
It was a really good match, and I'm so happy that it worked. And then we get back to the back. Ryan and I give each other a big hug because it was awesome. And then we just look at my dad, and we're like, I don't think the duct tape spot's ever going to work.
So when I look at your resume, you talk about everything you've done for your dad's company, WWE, but I'm curious, is there a moment from your AEW Dark Matches that stand out to you?
Mostly the last one that I had, which is against Zach Clayton.
Nice. Okay.
So and that's mostly because I was able to get more in that match.
Okay.
I was able to hit him a few times. I even had him down on the mat so that I could hit my Logan salts,
Nice. Yeah.
glorified lion salt. He moves out of the way and we go into his finish. And but that was the most that I had gotten in an AEW Dark match. The one
Yeah.
before that was me and another guy against what did they call themselves? It was Brian Pillman and Griff
The
Garrison.
Varsity Blondes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they called themselves. And basically, it was just a hot start. So, man, I'm talking to Brian Pillman ahead of time before the match, and because I had known him from the Indies, and we were
Nice.
cool. And he's like, man, I'm hoping because the original match was going to be 6 minutes,
Okay.
short for a tag match, but still long enough for both teams to do something.
Yeah.
So we're going over stuff and everything, and I see Jerry Lynn pull Brian aside, and so the other three or us three are going over the match while he's talking to Jerry Lynn, and he comes back over and he's like, "Hey Jake, so you're probably gonna hate me, dude." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "We just got cut down to 2 minutes."
Wow.
Like what
Yeah.
for a tag match? I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I don't know. I don't understand the reasoning.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not for me to understand. I don't understand the reasoning for them to have these people come in, put your talent over, but only give them just a couple of minutes in the ring. You know,
Mhm.
um, it is what it is. But Brian was bummed. I was bummed. The other guys were bummed as well. But me and Brian, like, we had some good stuff in that match. Even though it was going to be a 6 minute match, we still had some good stuff that we lined up. Um, but we got it cut to 2 minutes, and so we're like, all right, so it's just going to be a hot start. We go into your comeback finish.
Yeah.
So that was that, man. The one before that one was my first one. I had done AEW Dark, or I had done an AEW extra talent spot quite a few times. I wasn't on Dark or Elevation every time, but the time before that, I was at AEW and they were filming Double or Nothing. I think that was Double or Nothing. Well, they had the what was that match called? Where it was Jericho versus MJF.
The Stadium
Uh,
Stampede, the 5-on-5.
that
Yeah.
yes. So we were there for probably around 13 or 14 hours as
Yep.
extra talents before we even knew what we were doing. We were there in the morning. It was way past midnight when we finally found out. When I found out, hey, I'm just going to take a sugar glass bottle to the head by Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. So, so I get hit with this sugar glass bottle, and Conan is in the background DJing. And when I got hit, it was supposed to be on top of the head, a
Yeah.
safe spot.
Yeah.
It was not. It came across my ear,
Wow.
and sugar glass still hurts.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's still shards.
So I fall down, and Conan sees the whole thing. And once we cut, Conan comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, bro, you all right? Let me see your face," because he knew that's not where I was supposed to get hit.
Yeah. Did you get caught, I assume, or no?
What's that?
Did you get caught?
No,
Okay.
thankfully. But
Yeah.
like I had a good welt. Because it was like, you know how like if like you get hit in the ear,
Yeah.
right, like right on the top or whatever. But it was like, I don't know, I got scratched, but it wasn't like any markings or anything. I don't know. I know it hurt,
Yeah.
but not to sound like a baby or anything.
Yeah.
No. But so uh that was I think that was like my second or third time doing extra talent work at AEW. The first time I did a 6-man tag match. and it was really cool because one of my partners was Ryzin. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, so he actually ordained my wedding.
Yep.
I've known him for years upon years. He used to come out. He used to live in Colorado. He came out and wrestled for my dad in Amarillo, and that's when I first met him. But anyways, it was cool because we're friends, and now we get to team up together
Yeah.
on a national, company's program.
Yeah.
So we did that. However, uh, it wasn't the most fun experience. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed being able to have him as my partner,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the most fun. Excuse me, it wasn't the most fun experience because of how we had to go into the match. Um, I don't remember his name at this point. I feel I'm so terrible with names.
That's fine.
Um, but I just remember it was against the Factory. It was QT Marshall,
Yep.
Aaron Solo, and
Nick Camarado?
Nick Camarado.
Okay.
All great guys,
Yeah.
right? But I don't think Nick was in the greatest state of mind that day, particularly.
Okay.
Um, he just kind of seemed a little irritated, which kind of put a damper on putting the match together. No disrespect to him. He's a great guy. He's a great worker. Um, but it just because of how we were putting the match together, it made for not the greatest attitude going into it, if that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense. So, but I mean, all in all, like I still had a great time.
Nice.
I got to talk with one of my idols, Chris Jericho.
Nice.
I actually had like a decent conversation with him, and that was really cool. So,
Nice.
but yeah, man.
Yeah. So when you talk about your career, there was one thing when I knew of Jake Logan that I want to ask you about. I don't know if it was like pitched to you a certain way or how you went about it. What can you tell me about Control Your Narrative? Because that was like one of the most unique concepts. It was a promotion, but like it was a movement at first, sort of like, and you were a
Right.
part of it.
So, how did you feel about Control Your Narrative?
Originally, it was like a movement, I feel, because EC3 was doing like these promos. He had a bunch of actors saying like how they felt about it, and then it turned to a full-on promotion for a little bit.
So, Control Your Narrative was never supposed to be a wrestling promotion.
Yeah. They were supposed to go on tour, I remember, and then I forgot what happened. Something happened.
We were. We didn't get to do the tour because our two of our top draws got re-signed back to WWE.
Yeah.
That being Killer Cross and Adam Scher,
Yeah.
Braun Strowman and Karrion Kross. It really we wanted to go through with the tour, but we wanted to make sure we had the names to be able to correctly promote it well enough. And we didn't feel like the tour was going to be as manageable without those names backing it. Because, we got to make a profit,
Yeah,
and
obviously.
it's hard to make a profit off of a tour with people who, with wrestlers who people have never heard of,
Yeah.
Um, so with Control Your Narrative, uh, I have to back up to when I first met EC3, which was going to be in 2020. I I had already been living in Florida for about a year. And so this guy reaches out to me. He's like, hey, we want to do this big 2-day event in Dallas. We're coming off of COVID and we want to give people something to enjoy. Like, great. Absolutely. And he's like, I've got your travel set up. You're flying. You and EC3 will be on the same flight. We'll pick you guys up and everything. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
Somehow I ended up missing that flight. I don't remember how.
Okay.
I missed that flight going there, but everything was fine because I was able to get put on a different flight. I mean, it was a flight to Dallas. There's so many flights going to Dallas. So I got there, but my flight on the way back was still with EC3. So I met EC3. He went against who's that guy that's dating Sasha Banks now?
Beast Mordos?
Yes, that's who EC3
Yeah.
wrestled at. Um, and so we meet up. EC3, just the vibe I was getting from him, he just kind of seemed irritated after his match. I don't know if anything, you know, messed up the match or anything
Yeah.
like that. Uh, but I learned over time, oh, this is just how this guy is.
Yeah.
Uh, so we exchange numbers. We meet at the lobby of the hotel. He ends up getting a lift for us. We get on the flight together, and he lived like 25 minutes from the airport at the time,
Hmm.
and I had parked at the airport. So I was like, dude, I don't get another lift. I'll just drive you.
Yeah.
So we drove together. He learned a little bit about me and everything. And I had mentioned, yeah, it'd be great if, maybe you and I met up and caught a workout sometime. Well, he's like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. So I get back home. The next day, my wife is cleaning the car and she finds EC3's credit card. And so I text him and I'm like, hey, dude, I have your credit card if you want it back. And he's like, I was really worried that I had lost it, but not too worried. I'm really glad you found it. And he's like, how about we meet up tomorrow and hit legs together? I'm like, sounds great, man.
Yeah.
So we hit legs. He took me through a brutal workout.
Yeah.
He is a beast in the gym. Uh, and so after that workout, we were able to, kind of learn from one another about who we really are as people, kind of. And then uh, I was waiting tables at Cheddar's at the time,
Okay.
and so I had a day where I just texted him just a vulnerable text, uh, kind of saying something along the lines of, I don't know what my next step is, and I don't know where to go from here, and he really helped me out.
Yeah.
And so through all of that, I became the quote unquote first project of Control Your Narrative.
Yeah.
Projects were guys that were going to be recruited personally by EC3 from the Indies to help create a bigger name for themselves. Um, and the Control Your Narrative was mainly just going to be movies. It was going to be a
Yeah.
movement that had movies attached to it.
Okay.
And I don't remember how many installments there were going to be. We had three, but there were going to be more. Um, and so I was heavily featured in the first one. In a match, I went against, his name was Percy Watson in NXT.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I got to do this like super intense promo in the free. It's called Free the Narrative, and
Yeah.
all three movies are free on YouTube. Um, and I got to do this super intense promo. The next movie, fun fact, with the next movie, I actually broke my foot right before we filmed.
Wow.
And it was because I was testing the ring out and I went for the springboard backflip, and I landed it just like I've done billions of times.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, this time I just came crashing down on my foot, and I didn't realize I had broken it until I started to see it swell up really big.
Mm.
So I immediately went to go put my boots on. Because I knew that if I didn't put them on then, I wasn't going to get them on later.
Yeah.
And so I needed to put them on anyways because we were 20 minutes before camera started rolling.
Hmm.
So the whole day I'm just limping around on the foot. As soon as we hit action, I'm walking like normal, man, but it's
Yeah.
killing me. And I went against Fodder, who wrestles mostly in AML in North Carolina,
Oh yeah.
who's married to Brandy Love.
Okay.
Um, Angelina Love, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Um, and then the third one, I went against Weston Blake,
Nice.
who trained with me back in the day at Dory's. I actually had his going away match,
Wow.
WWE, right before he got signed. But Control Your Narrative was something special to a lot of us. And I actually got to bring in my best friend for it, Tino Valentino, and he became one of the projects. And same with my buddy Leo Fox. And it was just a brotherhood of guys coming together for one common goal, and that was to boost each other up, you
Yeah.
know? And a lot of people refer to it as almost like a cult because EC3 was running the charge and we were kind of just following by example, but we all wanted to learn. We all wanted to get better.
Mhm.
We're in the business of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, we have to figure out how to get better. So, um, Control Your Narrative was something special, and part of me wishes that it was still around. Um, but I'm happy for EC3 and what he's doing right now.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it's a good memory to visit though.
Yeah. So
So
when you look at your career, there you've wrestled some guys that people on the indies wish. So there's three matches I want to ask you about. If you have brief stories or anything. The first one, do you have anything that stands out wrestling Matt Hardy?
first and foremost, and I've told him this years after the match,
Yeah.
uh, he's got to stop using so much conditioner and oil in his hair.
Wow. Yeah.
I remember in the match, he said, "Give me a hair bump." He hit me in the stomach a couple of times, and he went to run the ropes. And I grabbed his hair and I threw him on the mat. But I remember, and I know that it happened. I remember before he took the bump, I slipped off of his head.
Wow.
I slipped
Yeah.
off his hair. But yeah, Matt was Matt was really cool. He was very willing to help. He's probably one of the most influential guys because I was already wrestling for 5 years when I wrestled him.
Yeah.
Uh, so the match that him and I had was very special because I feel like that's the moment the psychology really clicked for me.
Nice.
So, um, so I credit Matt for that.
Yeah. So we talk about Matt's. Anything? This one I was crazy. Wrestling Matt Sydal.
Matt Sydal was fun, man.
Yeah.
He was cool with doing anything,
Yeah.
you know,
Nice.
and he was happy to put me over. I would love to wrestle him anytime ever again. I made a connection with him after that because a couple weeks later, because we were both living in Florida, I ended up going out to his school at the time and was training with some of his students
Nice.
after that.
Yeah. And then the last one, wrestling Tommy Dreamer. But don't you have Road Dogg on commentary for that one?
Yeah, so that match, I wasn't supposed to wrestle Tommy Dreamer.
Okay.
So the match that was supposed to happen was me versus Scott Steiner, and my partner, who was in that match with me, was supposed to wrestle Tommy Dreamer that night. But we did it to where Scott Steiner did an open challenge, and I was supposed to be the one to answer it. However, Scott got there, and Scott was in a Scott Steiner mood,
Yep.
um, and he was having an issue with, I think it was like his pec or his shoulder or something. And so he's like, "Dreamer's on the card, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "This is going to be a tag match now." And I'm like, "That's news to me. Let me go talk to the promoter."
Yeah.
So it happens to where Scott goes out for an open challenge. I answer it. Then the guy that's supposed to wrestle Tommy ends up coming out and answers it. And because him and I are both wanting to fight Scott, Tommy comes out and he's like, "Well, how about you fight both of us?"
Yeah.
And so that was really cool. Tommy gave me some good advice.
Nice.
The main one being, I know you're in the ring with Scott Steiner, but still lay it in.
Yeah.
He's like, Scott can take it.
Nice.
um, but yeah, wrestling Tommy Dreamer was fun. Road Dogg came up to me after the match and told me that my spike on Tommy's cutter looked great,
Nice.
and I was really happy about that. And then I didn't know how serious he was until the video came out in the commentary. He said, "Wow, I wish I really had a replay of that because that thing looked awesome." And I'm
Nice.
like, "That's awesome, man!" So I had to repost it.
Yeah, of
So.
course.
But yeah, it was a fun match. That was the second time I had wrestled Scott Steiner.
Wow. People wish they could wrestle him once, and you've done it twice.
So I had wrestled him previously in 2020, right before COVID happened. In January of 2020, it was actually for a show that Dory Funk had put on here in Ocala, where I live,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it was a 6-man tag. It was me and two other guys versus Dory Funk and the Steiner brothers.
What a match.
Yeah.
That's nuts. So when I look at your career, we talk championships. However, there's one ring I got to ask you about. Is it UPWA, your heavyweight champ, for what is it, like 1,200 days?
Yeah, man. 3 years in counting. So
So
this is
what? That's sick. So what is that like? Because on the indies, never mind even anywhere in wrestling, you just don't see reigns like that.
man. I when it happened, I was really. It was kind of a proud moment
Yeah,
because I had wrestled 2 times in this promotion already, 2 or 3 times already in this promotion,
yeah,
and it was cool to see a promoter gravitate towards me and feel like I was trustworthy enough so quickly to be able to
yeah.
carry his promotion. Um, but he told me, from the moment I had you the first time, the moment that I had you in for the first time, I knew I was going to end up having to eventually put the title on you.
Wow, nice,
So I'm like, wow, man, that's really cool. I'm actually wrestling at that promotion tomorrow night in UPWA. Uh,
nice.
I'm in a War Games match.
Love it,
Yeah.
nice.
So
First one or no?
my first War Games match, but it's probably like my fifth or sixth cage match.
Nice.
So
So when you look at your career, you talk about it 15 years in. Is that where you're at right now?
yes, sir.
What are the goals nowadays? You've had tryouts, you've had AEW control your narrative. What are you up to nowadays?
Man, I told you earlier I don't like to stay in one spot.
Nice.
So there's only a handful of Florida promotions that I work for. I try to travel as much as possible. And for any promoters that are listening to this,
Yeah,
I work on my fee with you if you want to fly me in.
nice.
So let's keep that out in the air.
Absolutely.
Look at me trying to get a booking on here. But I uh, I want to do what's going to be most beneficial for my career,
Nice.
for my sanity, and for my family. Because my wife and I are trying for kids right now. Uh,
Nice.
and I don't want to I do my research. When a promoter reaches out to me or I reach out to a promoter, I do my research on the company, and I have to make sure that this is going to be a promotion that I feel like is actually worth coming to, because
Yeah.
not to I won't name any names or put anybody on blast, but there are a lot of promotions out there that do not carry themselves in the most professional way. And those are not the companies that I want to work for, because I need to know at the end of the day that I'm making a profit from my booking. I need to know that I'm being taken care of, so that my wife can expect me back home safe and healthy and happy.
Nice. So as we're wrapping up, a few questions. The one thing I want to ask you, throughout your career, is there a favorite venue you've wrestled at? Because you've wrestled all over for pro wrestling.
So my favorite venue, ironically enough, it didn't have a packed house,
Okay.
and it was a bit of a bummer for that.
Yeah.
It was in Warner Robins, Georgia, for IWN. It was the same company that I wrestled Tommy and Scott Steiner.
Okay.
So Warner Robins, Georgia. The reason that we didn't get a very high attendance was because there was a Trump rally going on that
Okay.
same day. So they thought that they'd be in the clear for the show, and I guess it didn't work out. But
Yeah.
the venue, it was a beautiful venue, man. It was like, man, we had the ring in the center, and it was kind of like a dome,
Nice.
and there were like theater seats surrounding it, just going all the way up, man.
Yeah.
And I'm talking rows and rows of seats, and it was still a great show. But man, like if that place would have been packed, dude, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But it was aesthetically, it was my favorite venue.
Nice. So when you talk about WWE Tryout and you talk about the conversation you had with Matt Bloom, do you feel does Jake Logan find that inner badass yet?
I have. I feel
Nice.
like I have. I definitely do. And you know, it's literally something I think about every day. That conversation with Matt Bloom. So it really left a mark on my career.
Yeah. Well, Jake Logan, I want to thank you for joining me. However, I've ended every interview the same now. The day we decide it's all done in pro wrestling, which isn't happening anytime soon, but the day we decide it's all done, what do you want Jake Logan's legacy in pro wrestling to be?
I want it to be. I want to be known for a guy, known to people as a guy who was passionate about professional wrestling, a guy who was and is a loving husband, because my wife, she's a bombshell. She's my biggest supporter.
Nice.
You know? But I want people to know that I'm a loving husband. I'm very passionate about what I do. I want people to think back and be like, you know what, Jake helped me out a lot. You know,
Nice.
Jake told me to find my inner badass. You
Yeah.
know,
That's awesome.
Because I'm at a point in my career where, yes, I would like to get ahead, and you'd be dumb if you didn't want to
Yeah.
in this business. But at the same time, like I have no problem with helping people along the way. You
Nice.
know, I feel like the more you help people, the better wrestling is, the better the professional wrestling business as a whole is.
Yeah.
So, if anything, you know, I want people to be like, oh, well, Jake Logan helped me on this. You know,
Nice.
so.
Jake, I want to thank you for doing this, man. I DM'd you, and I think the next day you reached back, so I'm so glad we made this happen, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming, you having me on.
Yeah.
I all of a sudden can't talk because my pre-workout's kicking in. But yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on, and let's do this again soon, man.
Absolutely. Keep in touch, man. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this, and thank you everybody for watching this episode. This was Best for Business.
Thank you for watching this episode of Best for Business. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, because this is Best for Business.